I'm Ari, your host at Epistémé Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs and tech startups that will change our lives. Today, my guest is Dr. Tobias Reichmuth, PhD in Business Administration. Dr. Reichmuth is a serial entrepreneur and investor, and now a founding partner and CEO at Maximon, a longevity company builder based in Zug, Switzerland. Nice to have you, Dr. Reichmuth. How are you today?
My pleasure. I'm doing well. Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you very much for accepting being my guest today, because you have launched a very interesting venture builder in Switzerland with, I think, pan-European activity. We'll talk about that more precisely with the focus on longevity, which is a very important, but again, we'll talk about this a little bit later. But just if you allow me, I would like to know you better, and if you agree, I would like to ask you about where are you from and how did you evolve as a teen, as a student in university, and why did you study business, and even with a PhD in business administration, and why did you commit into the entrepreneur scene? Because it's very risky with your background. You could have have a great job with a great salary. You focus on risky activity. So I would like to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, happy to. Look, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. This was clear to me as a boy. Yeah, so already then playing Monopoly and so on was one of my favorite pastimes. I studied in St. Gallen, and this was I started studying in 1998. Internet was coming up. A lot of people built companies. It was suddenly uncool to get a job at Goldman Sachs or McKinsey or anything. And I was not an internet guy, so I didn't know how to program, so I had to find something else. But anyway, I founded my first company being a student. We helped large caps to build employer brands, to be attractive in the job market, even if you might have not a super attractive product. That worked well. I sold that company in 2003. And from then on, it was clear I want to be an entrepreneur. Yeah? So
2003. Sorry, 2003. So it was you were a student at university, or did you finish? No, because 2003 you were.
I graduated from university in 2003.
Okay, so you're very early entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I mean, I built my first company when I was 20 and sold it when I was 23. So that was early indeed. Yeah, but that was not a big exit. It was just super nice for a student. Yeah. And then, I continued this path, and I made a short jump into consulting. I was at Boston Consulting Group. This was a nice paid education, you could say. But it was clear to me, look, I need to be an entrepreneur. I want to build things. Yeah? And, to your point of risk, well, of course, there's a certain risk, but risk is nothing negative. Risk has to be, how shall I say, touched on, and you have to look at the risk in comparison to the reward. Yeah, so I'm not against risk. I just try to manage risk basically. And yeah, when I was traveling 2 years, then bought an old car, drove around the world for 2 years, and I saw a lot of climate change happening. And when I came back, I said, look, I want to be an entrepreneur again. I want to do something scalable, and thirdly, I want to do something with an impact against climate change. Yeah, so. From there on, it was clear that I stay entrepreneur. I built the company there fighting climate change. It's called SUSI Partners.
Right?
SUSI is a 2 billion euro assets under management fund investor investing in clean tech infrastructure now. The company is doing very well. However, after 8 years or so in the operational lead of the company, I got a bit bored because it was like, becoming more and more management and less entrepreneur. And I was able to also co-found some other companies along the way, Crypto Finance Group, which we sold to Deutsche Börse, or Singularity Group, which is an asset manager focusing on technological disruptions, basically. And I realized, hey, I'm much happier if I can build something from 0 to 1 than to bring it from 1 to infinity. Yeah. And in 2020, I stepped down from the operational lead of SUSI. I'm now the president of the board. Lockdown happened at the same time. We sold Crypto Finance Group. And so suddenly I had more time at hand than almost ever. And I started to look at the topics I got fascinated, but never had the time to research it thoroughly. And this was longevity. And I said, wow, this is, the magnitude here is amazing. Again, you can do something which is scalable and big, but at the same time, you have a positive impact, because nobody wants to be old and sick if you can be senior and healthy. Yeah. And so we decided, let's look at that. And first we thought we would do a venture capital funds. Then I realized we are pretty early in the sector and there is not enough ventures around. So we need to build ventures. And that's how we decided to build Maximon as a venture builder, company builder, because there's a lot of great ideas out there, a lot of amazing scientific research results, and we can help building companies.
Absolutely. So you have this driving force, this entrepreneurship driving force in you, and so when you reach a certain level, you need to to come back to this early moment, when you start to combine the Lego piece and to make a new business, right? So you decided to launch a Maximon, focusing on the longevity space. Do you agree if I said Maximon is a startup studio, or for you is it different between venture builders, the startup studio, or incubator?
I never understood the differentiator between incubator, venture studio, company builder. Look, at the end of the day, you can do many things, yet there is different shades of gray, you could say here. What we do is we really build the company together with the team. We make our hands dirty. We are not only investors and advisors, we are team members. We sit on the same side of the bench, basically. So when we decide to go into something, we do this together with entrepreneurs, and we are part of the operational team, day-to-day work. Yeah, and this differentiates us from others, but I'm not sure what differentiates an incubator from a venture studio.
Okay, so with Maximon, sorry if I pronounce it bad, Maximon. Is it a reference to the Guatemalan god?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You're well informed.
So
I mean, Maximon in Guatemala is a kind of a. Yeah, sorry. Now we had the signal lost. Please go on.
Okay, so it's part of the branding. It was something that you pick because you like the name, or there is a history behind the name.
Look, I mean, Maximon was a kind of a small god in Guatemala. He was a doctor in a village, and he helped all the people. But he helped sometimes a bit too much to women when the fishermen were on the lake, and the fishermen were not so happy with him. He was like a bon vivant. He had fun. He was smoking cigars, and then he got very well along with girls. And at one point, it was a bit too much, and they put weights on his legs and put him into the lake and wanted to kill him. But for some reason, he got off this weights and was able to get out of the lake. And since then, everybody saw him as a god. Yeah. And even since he is not there anymore, he's worshipped, and people bring cigars to his house and stuff like that. And we think he got very old. He defied death, you could say. We think it's a nice example of somebody who was able to get old, to have fun, to have a good life. Yeah, because it's why should you live very long if you don't have a good life? So I think the combination of living long and healthy and having good time is what we want to achieve with Maximon companies. Yeah.
Excellent, because it's exactly what people are saying about scientists who work to fight aging. And they say you are trying to become gods or to replace God, something like that. But it's it's how the medicine progresses. So you literally co-found each startup with your scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs. Could you tell us more in detail how it works exactly? How do you source the scientists or the entrepreneur, or do you organize hackathons, or do you have a partnership with university? Could you tell us more about how do you source and build each startup?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll give you an example. Avea is our longevity supplement company. We had a business idea. We thought this is an interesting market. A lot of new research can be used in supplements. And we found the first co-founder, Sophie Jablot. She's a food scientist from ETH, was before many years head of innovation at Coca-Cola non-beverage. Yeah. And she basically came to us, and we had one founder. Right? We had a head of product development. Now, what happened next? Instead of just waiting until we find the head of marketing and the head of production and whatever, we filled gaps. We became head of marketing, head of production, and so on. Yeah? And so we started basically as soon as we had one entrepreneur in residence, and this reduces time to market. It also reduces risk to a certain extent. Yeah. And over the next 9 to 12 months, basically, we found then a very good CEO and head of production, Pascal. We found Teresa, who's an excellent, marketeer with, the right background in performance marketing and so on. And gradually, the team of Maximon could step out a little bit from the operational day-to-day work. But in the first year, we were very active. Yeah. And how do we find those people coming to us? As I said, it can be that we put a job ad there on a job database, scientific or LinkedIn or whatever it is. Yeah. We also have the Maximon Longevity Prize for Translational Research. So with this prize, we are present at all relevant institutes and universities. We organize the Longevity Investors Conference, which is now this year happening for the third time in Gstaad in September in Switzerland. We are having an advisory board of scientists from really Singapore to Shanghai to Switzerland to Israel, United States, London. And so we are very close to science. We need to be. Yeah? And we definitely must be global in both our approach, finding the best talent and finding the best ideas. Yeah. But it also can be that one of these best ideas comes to us via scientists. So, it says, oh, wow, I heard from Maximon and I have discovered a molecule which can do this or that and so on. So it's not that we have to develop all the ideas. Yeah? It's rather that we try to be present at all the right places where science happens.
The example you take with Alia is very interesting because it's for me, usually I separate startup in two categories: those who are close to market, who have a product that could be built or manufactured quite rapidly, and it's very, people are already know and are already used to use equivalent products such as nutritional supplementation. And you have also what I call, let's say, more tech or more deep tech startup who need more development. They are a little bit, not just a little bit, they're really far from the market, because sometimes let's say the behavior of the market is not ready, to use this, what they want to develop. Do you make this such a distinction? And if yes, how do you deal with that?
Look, I mean, we have a really wide mandate. Yeah. So for us, longevity is basically the extension of health span. And within this realm, we can do pretty much everything. Whatever supports the extension of health span can be a startup for us, as long as it's scalable. So it can be very scientific in terms of, right now we are working on a skin rejuvenation startup. We are in the validation phase there. And there we really talk, latest science. And on the other end of the spectrum, we basically look right now at longevity, senior co-living. So basically something physical, how can people who already achieve longevity, who are healthy, live actively together in a curated, system of apartments and so on. Yeah. So it's a wide array, but also within Avea, for example, I mean, Avea brought to market NMN. Okay, we are not the first ones there, but right now we are working on a patent which brings up the first highly bioavailable collagen precursor, and so there is a lot of science in the background, basically. Yeah? So, having said that, whatever we do must have a scientific justification. And so also the senior co-living is based on research showing that people who are living together, not alone, who are daily, bound to interaction and so on, they are healthier. Yeah. And we would also not come with, something which might be nice and have a placebo effect like a lot of cosmetics do. So whatever we do must be scientifically driven, having a sound scientific groundwork, basically.
So if you believe and you strongly believe in the market potential of an innovation, it could be a fast go-to-market one, or let's say a slow go-to-market with more scientific and clinical development. You accept to follow the long path of a clinical development for a biopharma startup?
Well,
because 10 years and nearly 1 billion, to bring a molecule into the market.
You bring here a very important question up, yeah. Namely, what is the mandate of a company builder? Yeah, and we do see ourselves really as somebody who builds operational companies. We are not in the, how shall I say, ground research work. Yeah. So what we say is, whatever we do, whatever company we build, we must have a valid assumption of turnover within 6 years. This answers your question, meaning that, do we go for FDA approval processes from scratch? No, because we talk about 15 years, and you still have the potential that it goes south in year 12. Yeah? So answering that, we can take certain duration in terms of development of processes and so on, but we do want to see a risk limitation in terms of being able to generate a turnover in year 6. Repurposing of drugs, for example, you can easily do that, yeah. Or if you, for example, first target the cosmetic market before you go for FDA approval, you can achieve that, yeah. But this fully fledged drug discovery FDA approval process is not something we deem within the mandate of a company builder.
Absolutely. And for, let's say, for biopharmaceutical startup who has something very very interesting for, let's say, longevity or rejuvenation, even for rejuvenation, there are tactics to faster the development, but maybe we can talk about this offline another day. I have a question about how you build Maximon, because launching a startup is very complicated. It's very exciting. We have at the same time very exciting, but there's a lot of problem to solve every day. Is one problem a day to solve. But when you launch Maximon, what was your, let's say, the issue you faced and you had to solve it? Because it's very interesting also to see your entrepreneurial path with Maximon.
Yeah, look, I mean, to be honest, when we founded Maximon, we had a lot of tailwind. So there was not big problems. It was rather that we felt it was the right timing. People are fascinated by it. Talent is fascinated by it, which is most important to us. We find entrepreneurs who want to work in the field of longevity. This is super important for us. Let's say, different to startups, we were in the luxury situation that we had enough money in our own pockets that we basically could finance operations. Yeah. So us, the founders, basically put a significant amount into the company. We launched a fund where, together with some friends and family, we put in the first 6.6 million also in the fund, which allowed us, to build the first 2 companies and so on. Yeah. So we were much faster than we had in our business plan. In the first 12 months, we launched the first 2 companies. We launched the fund structure in the Netherlands. We hired in total about 20 people already, which is amazing in 1 year as a startup. What we see as a challenge right now is to raise further capital. We need to bring this fund now to 100 million. And when I say we need to, this is really because the companies we have launched and the company we are currently launching, the demand for capital, they grow fast. So again, Avea and Biolytica, our first 2 portfolio companies, are ahead of the curve, which is great, but it also means that we can provide additional capital to push that growth. And what we see happening right now is, and they're alone, venture capital fundraising is a bit impaired with the events we see in Ukraine happening, changing of the interest rate curve and so on. So I would say, while the beginning was a bit easier than I would have thought, we see now the reality that you need to clean the door handles of many investors. You need to explain longevity, because many don't know what it is. What do you mean when you say, hey, we are a longevity company builder or so? It takes education, it takes time. I am positive we do it, but if you ask me for challenge right now, I would say that is the biggest challenge.
Perfect. So because startup, particularly in the innovation space, needs a lot of cash. And yes, the market of fundraising is a little bit in the trouble right now, particularly in the USA, and Europe also always follows what happened in the US. But I'm pretty sure that what you are doing is will not be impacted, because all the prediction about the epidemiology of aging is very catastrophic. In 2050, 80% we will have one 80 years old man or woman for 10 people. So it's quite crazy, and people, of course, more age people, we have more, they will have disease. So it's very, very complicated tomorrow for everyone. So what you do is very important. So as it is a very important question that you are trying to solve with the Maximon, how do you see the European academic research and entrepreneurial scene in longevity in Europe compared to the US ones, with their massive academic research institutes such as the Buck, the Mayo Clinic, and also their startup ecosystem specifically dedicated to longevity, such as Altos and others? And also, do you have some information about China and Asia in general, Japan, Singapore, about this subject? Or are they active? Are they dynamic in this field?
Yeah, look, I mean, many questions you ask now. So Europe has to catch up. Yeah, what we see happening right now in the United States, and also, for example, China, is there is a lot of capital available. There are excellent transfer. I mean, United States now, excellent transfer offices at universities, which push students who have great ideas into entrepreneurship. Yeah, while in Europe, it's a bit more of a pull. They have the student or the PhD, whatever the professor, has to go to university. Hey, look, I want to build a company. Transfer offices are not yet on the level like they are in the United States. And a big challenge, we need to make capital available, because what we have seen happening in internet, for example, brain drain. Great people with excellent education from Europe had no other chance than to go to the United States to build their companies. Maybe they did a Series A, well, maybe they did a seed round in Europe, yeah. And then they said, you know what, I need 60 million at a valuation of 500 million. And in Switzerland, Germany, whatever, people say, are you crazy? In the United States, these are numbers which are normal, yeah.
And Switzerland or Germany or UK are, let's say, the best place, for startup compared to France, for example, because I have one feet in France and one feet in Switzerland. In France, it's completely catastrophic, and in the Latin European country, it's very difficult to raise funds.
Look, as I said, we need to think big. We need to learn how to think big, and we need to provide entrepreneurs with the environment that they can stay here and build companies. And what we do at Maximon is basically that. Yeah. So we make it very easy. We tell entrepreneurs, look, up to a Series A, we finance you with up to 10 million, and then we help you raise a significant Series A, double digit at least. Yeah. And we build also a campus now. So, the idea is we need to bring talent to Europe. I don't say that we have all the talent here. We have great people, but we also want the best from elsewhere. But in order to attract those people, we need to bring this environment into life. Yeah? This has happened quite well when we look at blockchain and crypto, talking about Switzerland right now. And I want to copy that. Yeah? Now I want to build the longevity valley here. We do have all the great resources. There is a lot of amazing pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies in Europe already. So the scientific groundwork is laid, and now we need to work on the ecosystem. Yeah, and that's why we want to do a campus. We need to raise bigger funds. We need to, basically be on the eye level with the United States, and as I said, also Asia here, if we want to continue as a, as a longevity leader here. Yeah.
Great. It's a very important field, and it's very, very precious what you do, and I strongly support what you do. Maybe if you allow me, maybe we can come back a little bit on the business model and the innovation model of Maximon. So you told us that entrepreneurs can knock at your door, you can source them, or you can have also your internal idea center with your team, you know, and then you can go then seek the co-founders. So you talk about also you have a fund as investment vehicle, and does this fund open to business angels, or is it something you keep it, you know?
Look, I mean, as I said, for us, the important thing here is we want to be in the exactly same alignment of interest with our entrepreneurs, with our investors. Yeah. So we are not a classic fund manager. Mm-hmm. What we said is, you know what, let's have a co-investment vehicle, we call this, which invests together with us in each startup, yeah, and gets the same amount of shares as Maximon gets, and we all are shareholders. There is no performance fees, because we do not want to have different incentives. Yeah? Everybody has one incentive, which is to make a company we build successful. Yeah? And for this, we call it the Longevity Co-Investment Fund, which is open to qualified investors starting at a 500K ticket, basically. And it allows investors not only to invest with us, basically, it enables them to be at the forefront of knowledge generation in longevity. So we make sure that we transfer all the knowledge we have in our advisory board to our investors as well. We want them to grow with us in longevity. And I think this is highly attractive because it's a double dividend. You not only get a good return, or hopefully a great return, yeah, but you should also get the latest in knowledge in longevity, which, you know, arguably is the biggest sector to come. Yeah? And we talk here about 8 billion people who eventually want to profit off longevity research. And so from that perspective, I think it's a double dividend, which is available here. Yeah, I think, you know, it's something you can profit personally as an investor as well.
So maybe you can have you can launch a call to I don't know, entrepreneurs, successful serial entrepreneurs who would like to commit into this field and invest into your fund or family office, and I don't talk about VC because VC, they have their own thesis, so they are more difficult for them to move. But maybe family office or individual wealthy person who would like to commit into the longevity field and invest through your fund, maybe you can launch a call. No?
Well, indeed, you know, I mean, as I said, we have invested 6.6 million ourselves. And now, you know, the investors we talk to are indeed family offices, high net worth individuals, because it's people who need to have an appetite for the topic. It's venture capital. So it's not the classic insurance asset manager who looks at a vehicle like that. But yeah, so there, what I can tell investors, you will be in a very exclusive club when we look at the investors who already sign up here. And we are at the beginning. We just started now fundraising for that fund. But yeah, everybody who is interested, very much invited to step in contact with us. Yeah.
Perfect. I would like to also to profit of this interview because you are a crypto expert, and I would like to ask you, what do you think about, you know, the crowdfunding through crypto? You know, there are a new wave of fundraising through. I'm not talking about ICO, but you know, there are this kind of startup who help life science startups to raise funds with crypto. You know, what do you think about this field?
Look, what we learned is you have to stay either or. It's very, very difficult to combine a fund with classic investors and crypto investors. Because if you have a lead currency in the fund, be it US dollars or Bitcoin, it's very difficult to make this available then to the other part when you have an exit, for example, or also in annual reports. So I believe crypto is interesting. I believe it's mostly interesting in tokenization of assets, so that you say, look, we have a certain asset, we tokenize it. But often people think it's far too easy. It's not easy. There is KYC connected with that as well. The structures are not exactly to set up. Yeah. So often people think that if you do crypto that you're in a separate league. No, you have the same laws to abide of. Yeah. So it's not much easier, I would say. However, the big advantage is you can bring liquidity in and you can bring very small entities in. This allows everybody to invest in something instead of only investors who have big tickets. So that's the big advantage there.
Okay, so it's not yet the perfect tools, for funding high risk startup. It's a little bit a dream about the crypto. The best way to fundraise, to the fundraising for startup is still the old way, with the let's say the funds or this kind of vehicles.
It depends. Look, it depends what you cater to. It depends on the beliefs of your investors and so on. What you definitely can say is that existing crypto investors have, let's say, probably a higher appetite to volatility than others because they have through that already. But I would not say that there is a best way. It depends on your network you have and so on. For us, clearly, we look rather now at the old economy investors, while opening a door to crypto investors as well via, basically a note, which could be then in crypto or so. But the question is always the minimum. Yeah. So, if you can do something in crypto before it starts to make sense, it needs to be at least 20 million as well.
Perfect. So if you talk about your startup at Maximon, we can talk about Avia, who are already launched, incorporated, Biolytica also, data-driven health analytics. Do you have other startups in the pipeline, or would you?
We have two more. We are actually three more. We are three more in the validation phase, and they go from skin rejuvenation to senior co-living to longevity hospital chains. So it's definitely not a lack of business ideas, but you have to do a very, very detailed validation, meaning for us 6 to 9 months, where we look into a business idea before we decide that we really want to fund it and build a company out of it. Yeah. But out of 6 we start looking at this year, we are now at 3 where we think it makes a lot of sense to go forward. So it's a busy year ahead of us. Yeah.
Perfect. It sounds very exciting, and I will be very, very interested to discover your new startup when they emerge and seen on your website. So we are reaching the end of this interview. Maybe if you have some advice for first-time entrepreneurs, or even a book, a podcast, anything that inspired you recently, not necessarily in business, it could be anything. Look, also a call to scientists or engineer to join Maximon. Anything you want.
Yeah, look, I mean, I definitely call out to everybody who has a great idea in the field of longevity. Yeah, if you want to build a company, contact us if you have a great idea. We are interested, as I said, in everything which brings the extension of health span forward. Yeah? An advice for entrepreneurs, what I always can tell them is don't wait. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you have an idea, go for it. It will not get easier. Yeah? Opportunity costs raise. And maybe another advice is you do not have to wait until you have a co-founder. You can start with it. It even makes it easier to find a co-founder once you have started, because then you already something is there and you don't have to give away so many shares. Look, I'm very happy to hear from all of you out there who want to do something for longevity. It's a great cause. It's definitely a very rewarding field to be in. It's the right timing. Yeah, and with this, thank you very much for the chance to have this interview.
It was a real pleasure, because first of all, what you do is very precious for the entrepreneurial scene, particularly in longevity. Something it's very important. The demographic of aging is catastrophic. We are all talking about climate change. Of course, there are very important topics, but the aging of the human being is something very very important. It's the consequence of the progress of medicine. It's good. We have fought early childhood death. We have good medicine, good food that bring us to age, but at the same time the population of aged people is booming everywhere, and this is very important to have solution to live longer and a better health. So thank you very much for being my guest today. It was very important to have you. Thank you very much. I will, of course, share all the link and also your previous interview, because your previous interview with other podcasts are great. So I will put them in the blog podcast. So thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate
Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you very much, Ari, and I wish you a good time, and let's be in contact soon.